On Thanksgiving Day, 2013, Keller, a carpenter, and his family went to his best friend Franklin's house for dinner. Franklin had two daughters, Joy and Eliza. Keller had a daughter, Anna, and a son, Ralph. The children, as soon as they met, wanted to go out to play. The adults were busy preparing for the party, so they asked Eliza and Ralph to go with the two children. When they went out, the two girls kicked the small ice blocks in front of them. They played happily. Ralph and Eliza were about the same age, so they had a lot to talk about. Not long after, Ralph suddenly discovered Anna climbing into a trailer on the side of the road. So Ralph quickly picked Anna up and said that it was very dangerous. Then the two took their sister and prepared to go back. But what they didn't notice was that there seemed to be a gaze watching them from inside the trailer. When everyone had eaten and drunk enough, they started talking. At this time, Anna suddenly looked for her mother. Anna had a red whistle that had been lost at home for a long time and had not been found. Joy heard that and wanted to help Anna find it. So now Anna wanted to go home with Joy. The two houses were not far from each other. Anna's mother agreed, but she told Ralph and Eliza to go with them. Franklin took the opportunity to tease his daughter. He said that if Joy wanted to go to Anna's house, she had to sing a song first. So the two girls sang a song called Jingle Bells with the lyrics changed by the children themselves. The adults were all very happy after listening. After the children left, everyone continued to chat happily. Time passed by in a flash. The party ended before they knew it. Keller said goodbye to Franklin and prepared to go home. At this time, Keller was surprised to find Ralph and Eliza watching TV in the living room downstairs. Keller asked Ralph where Anna was, but Ralph was confused after hearing this. Keller asked Ralph if he didn't go with Anna and Joy. Ralph said no. It seemed that Anna and Joy didn't ask Ralph and Eliza to go with them, so Keller rushed back to his house. However, when he searched upstairs and downstairs, he still couldn't find Anna and Joy. At this point, Keller realized something was wrong. After checking the basement one last time, there were still no results. Keller hurried back to Franklin's house to tell everyone about this. Then everyone went out to search. It was starting to rain lightly outside. The sudden disappearance of the two girls made everyone very worried. However, even though they searched every corner around, they still couldn't find any trace of Anna and Joy. Even when they knocked on every door to ask the neighbors, no one had seen the girls. At this moment, Ralph suddenly remembered that there was a trailer here before, but now it was nowhere to be seen. Could it be that Anna and Joy got in that trailer? Hearing this, Keller hurriedly called police. That night, the police quickly found the trailer near the rest stop. Everyone quickly surrounded it and ordered the driver to get out of the car for inspection. Unexpectedly, the trailer suddenly started and prepared to escape in front of everyone. Then the car crashed into a large tree in front. Just like that, police successfully arrested this man. At the police station, Officer Loki, who was in charge of the missing children case, began to interrogate the suspect. The driver was extremely terrified. No matter how Loki asked, he still refused to admit that he had cornered Anna and Joy. The police also searched his mobile home, but found no trace of Anna and Joy. Although the driver did not admit his guilt, Loki still confirmed his name and address. This man's name was Alex. Alex was currently living with his aunt, so Loki went to visit Alex's aunt alone. Loki later learned that Alex had been orphaned since he was a child. Although he was now an adult, his intelligence was only equivalent to that of a 10-year-old child. That was why no matter how Loki interrogated him, Alex was always extremely scared. Alex's aunt also said that although Alex had intellectual problems, he had never caused trouble since he was young. Therefore, she did not believe that Alex would corner anyone. Unable to gather any useful clues from Alex's aunt, Loki prepared to leave. However, in the yard, he saw a dilapidated car. The aunt said that it was her husband's car. 5 years ago, after a big argument, her husband left and never returned. Although there was no evidence pointing to Alex, the police still conducted a thorough search of the woods near the trailer. Even Keller joined the search out of concern for his daughter, but the results were still no clues. The next day, Loki visited Keller and Franklin's homes in turn, hoping to find some clues. After Keller learned that the police had not found any useful clues from Alex, he immediately asked questions. Keller said that if Alex did not do it, why did he run away when he saw the police? Loki explained that Alex only had the intelligence of a 10-year-old child. Perhaps Alex was surrounded at the time and was too scared. But this explanation could not be accepted by Keller. Keller even suspected that Alex had another accomplice. Keller hoped that the police could consider other possibilities. When Loki was about to leave, Keller suddenly stepped forward and asked if Alex would be detained at police station before his daughter was found. Loki replied that if there was no evidence, they could only detain Alex for a maximum of 48 hours. That meant Alex could leave tomorrow. This once again made Keller extremely agitated. Keller begged Loki to detain Alex for a while longer to ensure the safety of Anna and Joy. Loki did not answer Keller, but after Loki returned, he still proposed this idea to his superiors. However, the answer he received was that it was impossible, so Loki could only stay up all night. He started knocking on doors to investigate. When Loki arrived at a priest's house, he knocked on the door for a long time, but no one answered. After Loki looked through the window, he saw the priest lying on the floor. Loki quickly broke the window to get in, but after entering, he found that priest had just drunk too much. Loki couldn't wake the priest up right away, so he could only walk around randomly. At this moment, he noticed that the refrigerator in the corner of the wall seemed a bit strange, so he tried to push it aside. Loki found that there was a secret door behind it. When Loki opened the secret door, a bunker appeared inside. Loki jumped down without hesitation. After examining it, he was horrified to find a tightly tied corpse inside. He looked at the situation and realized that the corpse had clearly died a long time ago. Loki immediately woke the priest up and began to ask him what was going on. The priest replied that this person had come to find the sinner a long time ago, but in his words, he revealed that he had killed many children. To prevent him from committing more crimes, the priest could only lock him in the underground cellar to let him die on his own. Loki did not believe this explanation, so he dragged the priest to the police station. Time came on the third day. Keller was searching for his daughter in the forest when he received a phone call from his wife. It turned out that Alex, who was being held captive, would be released today, so Keller hurried to the police station. At this time, there were many reporters surrounding Alex. Keller ignored the others and rushed straight to Alex. Keller frantically pressed Alex about where his daughter was. Unexpectedly, Alex suddenly said that he had just left when they started crying. Before Keller could react, he was restrained by the police from inside. After that, Keller told the police what he had just heard. Keller affirmed that his daughter's disappearance was definitely related to Alex. At the same time, Keller told Detective Loki not to release this devil, but the more Keller spoke, the more agitated he became. In addition, no one else heard Alex's words, so they doubted what Keller said. When Keller saw that the police did not believe him, he had no choice but to leave in anger. Although Loki doubted Keller, Loki still comes to his house Alex to ask if he had said what he had said before. Alex was still the same. Whatever Loki asked, Alex shook his head. At this time, Keller returned home and saw his wife crying all day, so he decided to do something. If he could not rely on the police, Keller decided to use his ability to find his daughter, so Keller began to secretly follow Alex. After a few days of ambush, that night, Keller finally saw the other side of Alex. Just because the little dog did not listen, Alex grabbed it violently and yelled at it loudly. What made Keller even more terrified was that when Alex walked the dog, he hummed the Jingle Bells song that his daughter sang before she disappeared. Keller immediately confirmed that Alex had kidnapped his daughter, so he took a weapon and went to Alex's side. Early on the fourth morning, Keller picked up Franklin and took him to an old house in the suburbs. This was an old house abandoned after Keller's father passed away. Franklin didn't understand anything. He just followed Keller to the second floor. When they entered the innermost room, Franklin saw Alex being tied up. Franklin absolutely did not dare to believe that Keller would do such a crime. Franklin immediately intended to leave and said that Keller's actions were wrong. Keller could only tell what he had discovered. At the same time, Keller warned Franklin that mercy to the enemy was cruelty to their daughter. Under Keller's constant persuasion, Franklin joined in. The two began to torture Alex to extract a confession. At this time, Loki continued to investigate the mobile home. From the clues, he learned that the car was usually parked outside this house. The strange thing was that this house was uninhabited and was still for sale, but no one bought it. After Loki questioned the previous owner of the house, he drove to the previous owner's residence to find out the situation. According to the old woman, 26 years ago, her young grandson had mysteriously disappeared from that house. She searched for a long time but could not find him. After that, because she did not want to look at things and remember people, she could only choose to move to another place. Loki did not know whether the disappearance 26 years ago was related to the current case, so he temporarily returned to the police station. Then he interrogated the priest, but the priest repeatedly asserted that the person who came to baptize deserved to die. He didn't want this person to harm others anymore. Loki investigated a series of clues. As a result, Loki discovered that none of them seemed to be related to Anna and Joy's disappearance. Loki left the interrogation room in frustration. At this time, Keller and Franklin had beaten Alex to the point of death, but they still couldn't get any clues from him. This made Franklin feel conflicted. After Franklin returned, he saw the townspeople spontaneously organizing a prayer activity for the children. Franklin hugged his wife and eldest daughter who were in the crowd. Loki also came here and stood not far away. He silently watched the scene before his eyes and appeared extremely helpless. At this moment, in the crowd, a man suddenly took out a teddy bear and put it on the ground with a very strange expression. Loki stepped forward and looked at him. Unexpectedly, when he saw Loki's eyes, he immediately turned around and left. Of course, Loki wouldn't ignore such a suspicious man. Loki followed him for a few steps before he suddenly ran away. This scene made Loki even more certain that this person must have a problem, so he chased after him. Loki was then attacked by a hidden man in the middle of the street and lost track of the suspect. Although Loki did not catch the suspect, he quickly asked his colleagues to sketch a portrait of this person. Then he launched a citywide manhunt. Franklin watched the news and realized that they might have arrested the wrong person. Franklin looked for Keller and hoped that he would release Alex, but Keller refused. Franklin's unusual behavior made his wife suspicious. Reluctantly, Franklin could only confess the truth. When Franklin's wife also arrived at the old house, she saw Alex beaten up. She broke down and took out the photo to ask him if he had ever seen her daughter. Alex still did not answer. To make Alex talk, Keller covered the entire bathroom with wooden boards. Keller wanted Alex to completely collapse in eternal darkness. From then on, he forced Alex to tell the truth, but all this made Franklin unbearable. Franklin said that if they really caught the wrong person, then they were no different from those kidnappers. No matter what, Franklin still insisted on breaking the wooden boards to release Alex. But Franklin's wife suddenly told him to think about Joy. This sentence made Franklin pause. Joy had not returned yet. Franklin's kindness at this time was probably cruelty to his daughter. In the evening, Keller's wife suddenly heard a strange noise. She immediately had a premonition that someone had sneaked into her house, but after searching around, she still couldn't find anything. She hurriedly reported this to Loki. She didn't know if it was all related to Anna or not. Loki simply recorded it. After investigating around, he didn't find any trace of a suspicious person. But Loki noticed Keller's abnormality. It seemed like Loki hadn't seen Keller for 2 days. Loki asked Keller's wife about his suspicions. She said that her husband had been searching for his daughter with police recently, so he rarely came home. Hearing this, Loki realized that Keller had lied. The next day, Keller made a homemade water heater in the cabin to torture Alex. The miserable screams also made Keller confused. He didn't know if what he did was right or wrong. Suddenly Alex said, "I'm not Alex." Keller didn't understand what he meant. When Keller questioned him, Alex's confused words once again made him confused. At this time, Loki also followed the clues to Keller's father's old house. Loki suspected that Keller had cornered Alex, so he secretly went there to prepare to investigate. Loki opened the board covering the window and gently jumped in to prepare to examine. When Loki entered, he saw Keller lying on the floor. It seemed that Loki's arrival had prepared Keller in advance. Keller pretended to be drunk to talk to Loki, but no matter what Keller said, Loki insisted on checking the house. Loki checked each room. As Loki got closer and closer to Alex's position upstairs, Keller's heart was hanging by a thread. At this moment, the phone suddenly rang. Loki picked up the phone and learned that someone had seen the person in the painting and provided the address. Loki wrote it down and immediately ran there. After knocking on the door, the person who opened the door for Loki was indeed the hidden man who appeared that night. Loki wanted to ask him why he ran away that night, but he saw Loki seemed very nervous. Seeing that he was about to run away again, Loki quickly stepped forward to control him. After finishing him off, Loki called for help and began searching the house. In the rooms inside, Loki saw many strange black boxes. This scene made Loki feel uneasy. Could it be that inside were all kidnapped children? Loki hurriedly pried open the boxes, only to find that there were only children's clothes inside. As soon as Loki picked up what appeared underneath, he was shocked. It turned out that the box was full of snakes. No matter what, Loki still opened all the boxes, but he did not see any children. However, in the last box, Loki unexpectedly discovered a stack of strange books. Loki then showed them to Keller and asked if these clothes were any changes to Anna's. Keller was devastated when he saw his daughter's blood-stained clothes. He did not know if this meant that his daughter had been harmed. After that, the police began to interrogate this mysterious man. The man's name was Bob. He didn't seem to have any mental problems, but he was just like Alex. He was the type that wouldn't answer any questions. Bob kept drawing something on the paper. Loki went forward to see and found that what Bob was drawing seemed to be a maze. Loki asked Bob what it meant, but Bob completely ignored him. At this moment, Loki, who had always been calm, suddenly started hitting Bob. Perhaps Loki also thought that the children had been harmed. In addition, there had been no clues for many days, making Loki almost collapse and wanting to quickly get an answer. Loki was pulled away by his colleagues. Then Bob grabbed the gun from one of them. Amid Loki's constant warnings, Bob suddenly picked up the gun and did something stupid. This scene left Loki completely speechless and made him fall into even more depression and self-blame. On the other side, Keller finally got a clue from Alex. He said that the girls were trapped in a maze. Keller asked where the maze was, but Alex remained silent. No matter how Keller screamed, Alex no longer responded. Keller went to Alex's aunt to try to find clues about the maze from her. However, Keller hid the fact that he cornered Alex. During the conversation with her, Keller did not find any clues about the maze. At this time, Loki returned to the office and suddenly became a little angry by smashing things. It seemed that he wanted to release his negative emotions. This case with absolute absolutely no way out made him wonder if he could continue. At that moment, the photo on the floor suddenly caught his attention. Loki was surprised to find that the man who was imprisoned by the priest until he died had a maze pendant. The pattern on it was exactly the same as what Bob had drawn. The police immediately searched Bob's house. They found 2 crushed child dummies on the ground next to the house. The forensic department said that through the search of Bob's belongings, the blood on his clothes was actually pig blood. Loki's colleagues thought that Bob's behavior was like playing a role-playing game. If nothing unexpected happened, Bob had probably been kidnapped and someone else had chosen him to drink something that caused him to lose his memory. He was now trapped in a maze, unable to escape and unable to find his own answers, so he finally chose to die. Although this reasoning was very reasonable, Loki still did not understand why the clothes in the boxes contained Anna's clothes, and why the maze that Bob drew was related to the corpse. What was the connection between all of these? Loki had absolutely no clue. His colleagues advised him to calm down and go outside. At this moment, Loki suddenly thought of something. He took out the notebook he had with him. He flipped to a sentence at the back. That night, Keller's wife said that someone had come to their house, but Loki didn't investigate carefully at that time. So Loki went to Keller's house again and started to investigate. He found 2 footprints outside the window. This could confirm that Bob had definitely come here. Then Anna's clothes in the boxes had an explanation. Although the case had made a breakthrough, Loki still didn't understand the connection between Bob and the body. At the same time, on the other side, Keller and his wife rushed to the hospital. It turned out that Franklin's daughter, Joy, had returned. Seeing Joy's weakness, Keller hurriedly asked about Anna's whereabouts. Joy thought for a long time. It seemed that she didn't know where it was either, but Joy naturally said that Keller had been there before. At that time, the girls' mouths were covered, but Joy heard Keller's voice. Then Joy and Anna took advantage of the enemy's carelessness to prepare to escape, but Anna was caught up by the enemy. Only Joy escaped. This sentence made Keller suddenly remember something. Keller did not say anything and immediately drove away. It seemed that Keller had determined the location to capture his daughter. At this time, Loki went to Keller's father's old house. Loki thought Keller would be here. Unexpectedly, he heard a cry for help on the 2nd floor. At this time, Keller knocked on Alex's aunt's door. He said he wanted to talk to the woman again. She opened the door. Unexpectedly, as soon as Keller entered, the old woman behind him quickly pulled out a weapon and pointed it at him. It seemed that Keller guessed correctly. It was all caused by this woman, but he did not expect that he was still trapped by her. She used his daughter's life to threaten him. First, she ordered him to put on his own handcuffs. Then she made him drink the medicine she had painstakingly created. It seemed to be something that made people lose their minds. She told Keller to throw the phone in the sink and let him outside. It seemed certain that Keller would not survive. She told him the whole truth. It turned out that a long time ago, she had a child who died of an incurable disease. This was something that she and her husband, who had always believed in God, could not accept at all. Their faith had completely collapsed since then. In order to declare war on God, they started to kidnap other people's daughters. They wanted to use this method to turn the parents of those children into monsters like the angry Keller was now. Alex was also the first child they kidnapped. Because of Alex's mental problems, they kept him by their side. As for Bob, she didn't remember. It wasn't until she read the newspaper that she realized. It turned out that Bob was the other child that her husband had cornered years ago. Unfortunately, 5 years ago, her husband suddenly had a conscience awakening. He didn't want to continue, so he had a big argument with her. Since then, he never returned. Now she can only continue this fight by herself, so whoever stops her, she will deal with that person. After saying that, the woman shot Keller. Keller still thought his daughter was in the cave, so he jumped down without hesitation. She didn't say anything more and covered the cave mouth and used a car to block it. In the darkness, Keller used his phone light to see inside. He couldn't see his daughter at all. However, not far away, he discovered a red whistle. It was the thing that Anna had always been missing. At this time, Loki had also arrived. Loki intended to go and tell her about Alex, but he called for a long time, but no one answered. When Loki entered, he was surprised to see the photo of the man on the table. The man wore a maze pendant around his neck. Everything immediately became clear. It turned out that what the priest said was true, so the man was imprisoned to death. She was the mastermind behind the kidnapping of someone else's daughter. Loki drew his weapon and walked in lightly. He saw her sitting next to Anna, preparing to do something cruel. Loki quickly shouted at her to stop. She suddenly stood up and drew her weapon. After a few gunshots, the woman fell down dead, while Loki only had a slight scratch on his forehead, but he didn't care about his wound. He quickly took Anna to the hospital. Loki drove very fast, and he took Anna to the hospital in time. She was saved, and the whole truth was finally revealed. It turned out that Alex was the boy who had been missing for 26 years. Fortunately, he was finally reunited with his family. The Keller family and the Franklin family expressed their gratitude to Loki. Anna also wore the new whistle her mother bought for her. Everything seemed to have calmed down. Only Keller had disappeared without a trace. Everyone assumed that Keller had escaped the law because he had kidnapped Alex, but Loki knew that the law was unforgiving, so Keller still had a hard time escaping prison. That night, Loki went to the criminal's house again. The place was completely sealed off. Loki looked at the scene before his eyes and was extremely emotional. He did not expect the criminal to accidentally die at the hands of the priest. It seemed that everything was God's will. Just as Loki was about to leave, a faint whistle suddenly sounded from somewhere. The movie ended here. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and see you again.